All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to have an awesome conversation. If you are a real estate agent and you're out there going, how do I attract more clients and close more deals? We've got the man for you. You are going to be blown away. Lance Billingsley is our special guest. Lance, welcome.
Hey guys, good to see everybody. Thank you, Brandon.
Just to give Lance a proper introduction, he's been in the real estate world for over 20 years, both as an agent and now he is the VP of Agent Development for Navi Title. And Lance, your background is so long and I don't want to bore everybody with it. I rather just want to get into a conversation, kind of talk about what you've done, what you've learned, and what you see is really working well in the industry. So rather than me talking about you, will you kind of give people kind of the story, the backdrop of how you got in the business and what you've been doing since you got in?
Sure. I got into the business in 2001. I actually used to own a really large sports memorabilia company, had that branded, and then decided I was going to sell it and go do something in real estate. If you're old enough on this call, the planes had hit the building, and I figured real estate was not going anywhere. So I decided, let's go be an appraiser because they get paid regardless. So I became an appraiser. I did that till 09. And in 09, the market crashed again on us. So I decided to get my license while things were slow. 2012, I opened my own, with a partner, opened my own little brokerage. 2013, moved that brokerage to a team. Ended up having a top 5 nationwide team for Realty One Group, which is large in the West. And in 16, I merged my team with a large team here in Arizona, largest team in Arizona. And we ended up taking that business to about 4 years. 4 years straight, we did a little over $1 billion in sales and a little over 4,000 transactions. Helped launch Zillow Flex for Zillow nationwide, helped launch Zillow Offers for Zillow nationwide. We were the first 5 people that were on that team. Helped build Zillow's comp platform that they now use for consumers. I helped build that. And have been a coach for Tom Ferry for years. I no longer do that, but yeah, now I ended up at a title company, Brandon. I tell everybody I'm still a broker. I'm still an agent at heart. I just happen to get a check from a title company. So my job is to work with the largest groups and teams in the state of Arizona. I work with all the associations and do a lot of different things as well.
I love it. And thank you for sharing, because I wouldn't have done that justice, Lance. And what I love about your experience in this industry is you've done it all, right? Starting out as an appraiser, you understand the valuation process, and you know what it's like to work with agents as a vendors. And that partnership is so important. I know we're going to talk about referral partnerships as we kind of get into this conversation, but let's start with the conversation around what's really working now, because you're working with top producing teams, right? Doing billions of dollars over your career in real estate transactions, both through the teams that you've led and the teams that you work with. So what are you finding right now is working best for agents?
Well, I hate to say that what is old is new again. I think that agents have heard that for about the last year and a half since the market really changed in the end of 21, mid 21. What I'm really learning is people that have actually followed up and are really getting really niched, Brandon. I think what we're going to see, we have lawsuits that are happening right now. We have a lot of things going on in this kind of perfect tsunami, kind of, the word isn't against, but leaning towards being against the realtor community. And those people who have become niched and who have really, really leaned into their platforms and really leaned into their databases are the ones who are going to survive. The ones who aren't are out there just hoping that it's the same as it was before. And anytime I talk to a group, I think you're going to have to do you're going to have to do 2 things, Brandon. You're going to have to absolutely know your value, and you're going to absolutely you're going to have to know how to sell it.
Yeah.
If I can't pitch it to you because I don't understand my own value, I'm in trouble. And I'm seeing that is probably the exact where the rubber meets the road for what the changes are that are happening right now.
I think it's so important. Essentially, what I teach, of course, as you know, is the fortunes in the follow-up. And what you just said is it's back to basics. And these are timeless strategies that work because it's all about relationships, right? This is a relationship-based business, and those that are relying on leads might be left out in the cold. Anything you want to share with that as far as some of the insights that you have, and if you're forecasting the future of where online lead generation is going, what say you, Lance?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. Let's cover one thing first, Brandon, is that 82% of all real estate consumers, according to the NAR, do not remember the name of the agent who helped them buy their house. So, right. So you want to talk about follow-up for the people who are on this, whether they're in the lending side, which is primarily, but if they're in the lending side or the agent side, is that leaves a lot of vulnerable people that aren't being touched and aren't being talked to by their preferred person that you can jump in there and do that. As far as generating leads right now, obviously Realtor.com has been in this big giant push. We're starting to see CoStar kind of jump into the marketplace. Their advertising is your listing, your lead. I am a member of our local MLS. It's the 5th largest MLS in the country. And I believe you're going to start to see the MLSs get together. I see that starting in the state of Arizona, but get together, and that's happening nationwide. But they're going to start to get together, share their data, and become a more transparent platform for the consumer, which will allow lead generating for the agents, Brandon. I think those things you're going to start to see in the next, you already see, Realtor and Homes.com, but CoStar doing their thing. And I think the MLS is starting to really get together and go, we have to compete and we can lead gen for our clients.
Which makes a lot of sense, right? Because it's all about partnership. And when the MLSs are partnering with the agents they serve, that's when they're adding more value and helping everybody win. And some of those sort of historic legacy partnerships are shifting a little bit, especially in the lead generation business. Do you want to share some of your insights and what I know we've had some private conversations about what's been published with some of the large companies and the direction that they're heading? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, without naming specifics, I think that that's only fair on this, Brandon, and you and I respect each other very well. There is the largest lead generating platform on the planet, which is the largest buyer consumer in the industry. They get roughly 10 million hits an hour, and their name starts with Z. They have shut off all of their front ending leads and their rear ending their rear paying leads, so the referral leads. They've shut all those off in the state of North Carolina. I met last week with the president of HomeSmart Colorado. They have shut them off in Denver. And according to their paperwork and their quarterly earnings report, Atlanta and Phoenix are next. Whether or not they do that, I think it's just a matter of time. So as they start to grow across the country and do that, I think you're going to see the smaller markets that can't compete with the large markets, right? They're not coming in to take over Denver. They're looking to take over leads in Boulder and in those small little towns around it, which Lakewood and a lot of those are everywhere around Denver. That's what they're picking off by lead generating for really niche groups.
Well, you're talking about hyper local, what we call hyper local social farming, right? And so let's talk about that. If you're in one of those markets and you're a realtor and you've been dependent on one of those companies that may start with Z or another lead provider, and as they shift their business model away from providing those leads to local realtors, what are you recommending those agents do to really strengthen their referral base and ensure that they've got those clients coming to them?
Yeah, you can't partner with enough solid partners. And my advice to that would be partner with someone and don't jump around. If you look at the companies right now, Brandon, a lot of one-stop shop apps have been developed where people can buy a home, sell a home, get lending, and do everything on their phone. I do believe that if we don't have billions to build an app, I think we have to have partners. If you're my lender, Brandon, I need to be able to always rely on consistency on what's going on. And the number one complaint according to the NAR, number one complaint from consumers against realtors is they did not tell me what to expect next. So not only do I need my partner to help me with lead generating, I need them to be so predictable that my client can always know what to expect next. And I think that's where we disconnect between the lending side and the realtor side.
Well, and that makes sense. You and I are fans of personality science. So what you're talking about is a blueprint personality style where a lot of buyers are much more analytical than the agents that serve them. The agents tend to be more action and nurturing in style. And so they're out there presenting opportunities and making things happen. And sometimes those buyers are more analytical. And that's where you've got to provide that step-by-step process. And one of the things I always recommend, Lance, I'm sure you're the same, is to have that illustrated, to have it actually written down so that you can provide that to the client so they understand what they're going to experience in the buying cycle.
Yeah, I think the consumer today is more in step with the, let's, for lack of a better term, let's call it the Grubhub experience, Brandon. They're not so consumed with what was my real estate experience, whether it's on the lending, whether it's on title, whether it's on the realtor side. What was it like 5 years ago? They don't remember it. The data tells us that. But the data tells us that in the Grubhub experience, what do I know? I know when the food has gone in. I know it's been picked up. I know when it's on its way. So there is complete transparency in the entire transaction. And that is what the consumer is looking for. They still want a realtor and they still want a lender at a clip of almost 90%. Because it's a terrifying experience, but they want the transparency of, listen, if I have Brandon as my partner, Jones Family, here's exactly what he's going to do next. And once he does that, here's what he's going to do next. That we don't do well at all. And that, I think, is the truest way to pick up clients, because the data is telling us that.
That's brilliant. Well, and I think also that fortune is in the follow-up. You've got to stay in touch with your database, right? You've got to stay in touch with your past clients. Those can be your best source of new clients, but only if you keep your brand in front of them. So what are you finding are some of the best ways that the agents that are really crushing it in this business right now in this economic environment are doing to stay top of mind with the clients they serve?
Yeah, I think a couple of things is let's cover the first part of your question, Brandon. I believe that as realtors, we have really three things that make us unique, which makes the consumer want to use us. That's the market knowledge that we have. I know my market better than anybody because either I live in it or I social farm it, or I'm using HOA.com to help me generate the business or help me generate the leads. And I know that area really well. The second is we have unique access. Right, we have key boxes that will get us into the property. And the last thing we have is follow-up. Those billion-dollar companies don't have the follow-up where I can go meet you in person and, hey, let's go talk the market. Let's go do lunch. Let's have dinner. Why don't you come to my my party that just says thank you to all my past clients. But what I see is taking a lot of those and getting more personal and granular in those relationships, whether it is using a service for handwritten letters or having your assistant do it for you and you just sign it, or working smarter, not harder, but making sure you are top of funnel when it comes to them using you as not only their referral, but to their friends. And real estate is, you and I have talked about this, real estate is not what you know or who you know, like people think. Real estate is who knows you. And if the person I know won't refer me to someone that needs my services, then I've disconnected with them.
You know, it's huge. And I was just talking to one of my business partners. They were telling me about one of our agents here in the network here in Phoenix. And Gene Grimes has closed 22 real estate transactions since June 1st. Okay, so in this economic environment, she's crushing it. And she really credits a lot of that to the community impact and engagement that she's doing. And, you know, I always tell people at HOA.com, I tell our team and everybody who will listen, I think that's why people will ultimately fall in love with HOA.com, is because of the community impact events that we're doing, whether it's a treasure hunt or a barbecue or an ice cream social, creating that relationship and connectedness within the community is so important, because then you're seen as a giver and making a difference rather than just always asking for business. Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely. And I believe as real estate professionals now, we need to become more consultants than transactional. And the difference is an agent does a transaction for themselves because they need the money, and a consultant does it purely for the consumer, whether it's good for me or not. So if I can help Brandon network through HOA because, hey, we're doing all of these communities, and I might not get a transaction out of it right this minute, but I may get a lead gen, or I may just I just might pick up a couple friends. That's not a bad thing either. So I think working with that abundance and servant heart is understanding that working with HOA and making sure that the people that are in that HOA, wherever that is, are connected. Yeah. What a service that is in today's world, where all we are is disconnected, and everybody lives a perfect social media life, and everybody is doing great, and friends are great, and I'm driving a new car, and I bought a new house, and all this stuff, instead of just connecting and networking with the people who really matter. And I think people should ask themselves, How many of you even know the neighbors around you right now, right? So how can that be a bad thing by getting out there and getting front? And if you are the conduit for that as the realtor, as the lender, what a powerful tool that is.
Especially when you're doing community events on the regular, right? Maybe it's once a quarter per community, per HOA or neighborhood,
Right.
but just keeping that consistency, it reminds people that you care about the community. And we find it just to be so, so important. But I want to talk also about partnerships beyond just the consumer to the agent relationship, because as you know, we're passionate about raving referrals. And somebody asked me yesterday, what do I think the key to success is? And I think it's referral partnerships. I think it's partnering with the people that are serving your perfect prospects every day and adding as much value that you can, and also becoming the solution to their clients' challenges, right? And one of the things in my last platform, we had 250,000 realtors on that platform. And in part of that journey of building that company, we were partnered with Prudential Home Services back in the day. And I used to go to their national sales conferences and I would ask their realtors, I'd say, what's your number one biggest challenge when it comes to referrals? And the answer that I would get almost like 90% of the time was that we give a ton of referrals out and we don't get many back. So one of the things we're on a mission is to help formalize those referral partnerships. What have you seen be most effective when it comes to referral partnerships between agents and their vendors?
Yeah, I think what we have to do, Brandon, is become so top of mind in the community. And if I'm working through HOA, you know, better than anybody at our company, for all the realtors I work with, we have a concierge service that we're building on the front end. And on the back end, we give our agents that do a transaction with us, their client gets a free gift with their name on it, their branding on it for a year. That is all about touches. And it gets to the point that I'm going to do it for you because I realize that the broker agent statistically is not going to do that, obviously at a clip of 80+% that they're not touching people.
Right.
But I think what you have to get to is the mindset of every time someone thinks that HOA, that lender, that agent, that home repair, that electrician, that it's because I'm not putting out the message for myself. All of you people are, back to that who knows me kind of thing, right? So if I can get 5 people to talk about me, I'm getting out 500% on my return for my little voice, right? So leaning into that strong network can't be understated. And again, as we're scrambling for leads and we're scrambling for business and the market's changing and the rates are what they are, I can't have enough people standing on a mountaintop yelling my name. And if it's an electrician who says, I have a realtor in my network, that's exactly who I want to say it, because they're the ones that are in a garage crawl space doing exactly what I need them to do for me.
And having conversations with homeowners about,
Yeah.
hey, what are you doing? What's going on? The homeowner is going to say, well, we're fixing it up because we're going to put it on a market or we're going to move, right? So I think it's so important that people are doing that. And you just touched on a couple of things all at once there, right? One is automating your follow-up. Part of what you're doing at Navi Title is you're helping automate the follow-up so that those homeowners are getting that remarketing, that retargeting over and over again with something with their name on it, and it's an item of value. So I love that. And obviously we're working together on the concierge service to help people as they move get everything they need about that move, whether it's changing their address or, you know, getting quotes on homeowners insurance, helping them set up their utilities, power, internet, cable, security, all that stuff. So thank you. I'm so excited that we're doing that together. That's going to be fantastic. And when it comes to the co-marketing, right, we're using our HomeSafe report. I know others use HomeBot, but what I've seen with HomeBot is really it's about the mortgage lender and the realtor, and it doesn't include the electrician, like you said, or you know, Pete the plumber. And so what do you have many agents that are really using that team approach and providing that value and that resource to all the homeowners so that they're calling the agent anytime they need anything related to their home?
That's a super easy answer, and it ends with the sentence no.
Okay. So nobody's doing that currently.
They don't think that way, Brandon. I think that we as agents are extremely transactional.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is I need the Jones family to sell their house, to buy a house, and hopefully 5 years from now, they do it again.
Mm.
Right. So in between there, I may send them through my CRM. I may send them some drip emails, or maybe even get crazy and send them a text. And that's all going into spam. The data says only 13% of people even open their email or even like to use it. It gets into the 70% in terms of text messages. So that works, but it's nothing specific or genuine in the relationship. I'm sending it to you and 500 other people that are in my database. They're all getting, 5 properties. There's no connection for that. Is getting back down to, and when I say no, agents don't think so granular that they go, listen, I need to be in front of everybody in all different ways, right? We at Navi, Brandon, the reason I do the follow-up, we started that in June, and I have 600 and almost 70 people who signed up for it. Crazy data, right? Crazy for us. Crazy data, but our attack has been, I want lenders, I want title, I want realtors, I want homeowners, I want people to go, oh my gosh, they're everywhere, right? I want them to go, I can't get away from Navi Title. And I'm coming from the broker agent perspective. So is a broker thinking, how do I get my brand out with so many partners that I can consistently count on? That's the key. Right. That the homeowner goes, I can't get away from ABC Real Estate Group. They're everywhere. They're on my door hangers. They're in my mailbox. They've got magnets attached to my electrician. The HOA is having them come in to do events for me. All of that is so powerful, but agents don't think that way because they think granular. They think 30,000 foot view transactionally. And what I am trying to do is spread that word of, listen, you better get in the dirt, you better get in the muds, and you better have 5 other hands in it because it's going to get ugly.
Well, and I love that, right? You're talking about being ubiquitous. Not everybody knows that term, but it means that you're everywhere all the time. Like they can't escape seeing your brand. And that's what creates that top of mind awareness. And that's why when somebody mentions buying, selling, relocating, anything like that, hey, we're going through a divorce, we're retiring, we're going to downsize, you've got to be looking at those life events, because in this interest rate economy, with affordability being what it is, a lot of people are moving because of life events. And so the more scouts you have out there and the more times your message is heard, the more likely you are to be the resource that people refer to when they've got a friend, family member, neighbor, coworker that needs to buy or sell a home. So, we teach, of course, shameless self-plug real quick. We teach the Referral Partner Blueprint. You can get it at hoa.com/blueprint, and it'll walk you through who to partner with and how to really formalize those relationships. Because I agree with you, Lance, we don't see outside of our sort of company culture, a lot of people are like the lone wolf and the lone ranger. In fact, we surveyed over 2,000 professionals. We found 79% of people had between 0 and 2 referral partners that had sent them 1 deal in the last 90 days. And that means people are like the lone wolf, the lone ranger. They're working by themselves. And when Monday comes around, they're looking at an empty calendar and they're wondering why. But when you work together as a team, everybody wins more business. We believe that a client for one should be a client for all. What do you think about that?
I think we need, I love it. And obviously I'm a huge believer in what's happening is I think what we have to start to think about is, what does one more transaction every 90 days do to my family, do to my future, do to my income? If you can do an extra every 90 days, so every 3 months, give me an extra deal that makes $5,000, $8,000, $10,000, $20,000. That connection, if you think about it, will maybe put my kid through college without me having to go dig into my money. By just partnering and having those people who go, let me tell you about Lance the Realtor. Let me tell you what he's got going on while I'm here working in the yard as a landscaper, or I'm here doing painting. Or for me to go, hey, let me tell you about Brandon the painter. He's out there doing his thing. Let me tell you about what Brandon the lender does. He's out here doing it, and I can trust him. He's great. He's my partner. He's predictable. He's everything that we need. What does that do to Brandon's future? What does it do to that painter's future? What does it do to Lance the Realtor's future? And I think if we think in those terms, it can be, I just got the chills on it, Brandon, it can be so powerful and really do what our intention is, to not work from check to check or ride that roller coaster of our industry of going, hey, I got a deal and I got out of a deal, I need it. Those kind of things is now I can bring in more consistency and help everybody.
And that's it. And what's so cool about referral partnerships in my world, like I'm talking 12 years in the mortgage game. I was never in the realtor seat, so I don't know exactly, but I sat on the other side of the table and did a lot of business with agents. And what I found is when we really created a partnership, and it was people that I wanted to hang out with. You and I are going, okay, can I say it, Lance?
You can say it, man.
All right. So we're recording this on, actually, it's my wedding anniversary today, September
Happy anniversary,
27th.
buddy.
But in 2 days, Lance Billingsley and I will be in Vegas opening up the Sphere at the initial concert. It's a U2 concert. We'll be there with Todd Bookspan of Win by Noon and Dave Savage of Mortgage Coach. And man, it's going to be a blast. I can't wait for that. It's going to be fun, isn't it?
Is it Friday yet? I've been saying for a week. Is it Friday yet?
Well, and what a great example, because the four of us are creating a referral partnership, right? An alliance. Now we're working sort of on the national basis. For you, it's Arizona, right?
Yeah.
The other three of us kind of think nationally. But even if you think about your local area, your city, your town, where you focus your hyper local social farming, when you're hanging out with people like Lance that you love hanging out with, it's just fun. So when you build your business with somebody, and I think what you said is really true, that you can trust, that they're predictable, that you've got that relational equity, that if you need a call in a favor, they're going to deliver for your client. That's really a key to success, isn't it?
Let me talk about this for just a second for everybody who's listening. I met Brandon roughly 2.5 years ago. I consider him a very good friend. I met Todd Bookspan roughly 6 months ago. I consider him a very good friend. And I met Dave being on his YouTube channel roughly 2 weeks ago. And the four of us are taking our significant others and headed to Vegas together. That is referrals at its best. And no one's looking for anything from the other people. We're just here going, how do we make it better for other people? And if the people that are on this and watch this and are realtors and lenders and any other part of the network, imagine what changes in your life when you get to meet people who become friends, who now you can, maybe it's not the Sphere on opening night, but maybe it's just a drive-in movie. Remember those? Or maybe it's just taking your kids on a staycation, all of you together. Like the value of that to your legacy, to your friends, to your future, and to where your people are going. Gosh, it puts so much value in that.
And it's fun, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Think about doing events either in your local community, a client appreciation event. I used to do that in the mortgage business all the time. We'd like rent a bus, go wine tasting. We would rent a movie theater and have an exclusive movie that the only way you got in was through our group. Right? We would do concerts where I would just buy a box of tickets and then invite my best referral partners there. I had one realtor. She was actually the realtor of the year back in Portland, Oregon. And what she did was she did an annual New Year's Eve party. And the only way you got invited to the party was to send her at least one referral throughout the year. So she was constantly asking, and it was the place to be, man. It was just balling, so much fun. So when you create fun in your life, it's a lot of fun for you and your clients, and you build great relationships with amazing people. And Lance, I put you at the top of that list, man. I just love hanging out with you. I love who you are. At HOA.com, we always say we help people, right? Because we don't help the homeowners directly as often as we help the professionals who help them. And that's what I see you showing up as all the time. Do you want to talk about your new educational program that you created for realtors?
Yeah, we have a product called it's called Navigateway. I built it actually a couple of years ago. It's a completely interactive training platform for agents, kind of specific, working with agents who have less than 2 years experience and potential team owners and brokers. Completely interactive, like I said, and you're able to go into it. and it's free, by the way. I don't charge any fee for it. Able to go into it and kind of learn the basics of real estate and working in your sphere and working in a farm and working with online leads and doing personality tests. And is this a business? Is it a job? How do you answer that question? But the bigger thing on it now, Brandon, is I have about 100 documents in the file vault that if anybody goes, well, what's this script? Or what do I say in a text? Or what do I say in an email? They're all in there for them, and we did it for free. And we just partnered with the 6th largest real estate association in the country, and are almost at the moment of launch. We've been kind of in a slow opening, but our big launch should hopefully be in the next 30 days for it. And we're actually offering continuing education classes on it for the state of Arizona, just trying to make it. It is a product of pride for me that I literally get no recognition for it, and that's perfect. I ask for no money from it. I ask for nothing back on it. I just want to leave it and give it to people. And if it helps one people, 87% of all real estate professionals fail in their first 2 years. What happens to the industry if that goes to 85%? Like, if I can matter to 1% or 0.5% or 1/10%, I think that's the right thing to do.
I love that, brother. You are such a giver. Thank you for giving your time and expertise today. So how can people find out about that? Clearly, it's not released yet. How, if people want to connect with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, the product is actually out there. I have it with, which it is NaviTitle. If you want to email me, it's lance@navititle.com. Super easy to get a hold of. The product exists. My partnership with WeServe and the local association also exists, and it's on their website as well. It's just a quick sign up. No one sells you anything. No one pitches anything. It's just a quick sign up, and it's yours, and you can have it whenever you want to log into it. So you don't have to go through the association. Just email me and I'll send you a link for it. If you're a team owner, what's also super cool is if you're a team owner or a broker, you can have it for free, and it'll allow you to see the movements of all of your team members on what they're logging into, what they like about it, where they're stuck in a quiz, what section they click on the most. And then you can gear your training at team meetings or mastermind groups or whatever. You can gear that towards, you can gear it based on what that you've seen on how they're reacting with the site.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that people really understood that. So if you lead a team, you need to know what content your people are actually listening to, absorbing. And so this gives you that insight, oversight. You're going to have reports and see who's actually completed the training and who's just telling you that they are. So I love that visibility and that transparency. So important from a management perspective. And so, Lance, any last words of wisdom that you want to impart? Anything I didn't ask you that you wish I had?
No, I think that, like I said at the beginning, Brandon, I think we're at a moment of a lot of things happening really fast. The real estate community is losing realtors because those people don't have networks. They don't have referral-based partners, and they have been doing the business what they thought was extremely easy, and it isn't. And it is getting back with your partners, and it is working with them and saying, how do we do this together for the betterment of the consumer? How do we make the transaction much more transparent, much more communicative, much more step by step? And if we're doing that, the data is telling us that that will be received well. The catch is, are you listening?
Oh, are you listening? Such an important point. And the reality is the real estate world is going to continue to change, right? With AI, with the power being in the hands of the homeowners. I think what you said earlier, Lance, is so true. 10 years ago, the realtors had all the keys, right? Nowadays, homeowners, buyers, consumers are in charge. They have access to most of the information that you used to sort of be controlling of. And so you got to shift the way that you connect with people. You got to shift the way that your brand is out there being seen. If you're part of the 80% that doesn't follow up, you're missing out and you're leaving money on the table. So you've got to start, and we believe in automating that process as much as possible so that your message is everywhere all at once. And Lance, I just thank you for taking the time and sharing some of your wisdom with us. You've been in this industry for decades, and I know that you're totally all in and committed. And guys, I'm just going to say this because Lance alluded to it, but every time I meet with Lance, he's not into what's best for Lance. He's always thinking about how can I help as many people as possible. And for that, Lance, I just thank you and I honor you. And I'm so grateful that we're on this journey together, brother.
Absolutely, my friend. I appreciate you. And anytime I can ever help, anybody has any questions, again, it's lance@navititle.com, NAVI title. And I'm always here to help you on anything that you can. And I hope that people understand you had better get in your network. You had better get to your referrals. Make sure it's automated, because the data says you won't do it on your own. Have someone do it for you. Don't do $12 an hour jobs when you make hundreds of dollars an hour. Have someone do that for you. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, and oftentimes it's who, not how. Put on your CEO hat and
it.
think about your real estate business as the CEO of the company. Who can do this, not how do you get it done? Lance, thank you so much for your time today. I can't wait to see you in Vegas, brother. I'll see you in 2 days.
All right, buddy. You got it.
All right. Thanks,
Talk to
man.
you soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.